tutorial video over how to draw this part. Now, if you have not tried to draw this part by yourself, I recommend you stop the video now and try to draw it without watching the video. It's not that hard to draw, and especially if you have already completed these parts here by watching the videos, then you should know everything that you need to actually complete this part here. Okay? Well, if you're still having trouble after trying it yourself, then this video is for you. So here we go. First, go ahead and create a new part. And the first thing that you should do with this part is save it. You guys, make sure when you save your parts that you're staying very organized. So you should have a folder in your computer specifically for this class, then have a folder specifically for lab 2, and within that now let's save this as part C. Okay. Okay, so let's look at this part and think about how to draw it. There's a couple ways, and there's not necessarily one right way. One way to do it is to draw this bottom profile right here. So that would be drawing this profile, and then extrude up to make this base piece first. And then you could sketch this profile and extrude this way to make that part. Or you could do it the other way around. First create this, extrude this way, and then go and create this piece here. Either way is fine. Let's see one way to do it though. Alright, so let's create a sketch. And I'll select this plane here to sketch on. Alright, now the way that I'm going to do it is I'll first draw this bottom, basically draw the bottom of this part and then extrude up. Okay? Now if you notice, this part is symmetric about this line here. Okay, so I want to keep that in mind when I design the part, and I want to draw it so that a mid-plane goes through the middle of this part. It will be helpful for creating things. Okay, so watch this. I'll just click on rectangle, and let's just draw a rectangle right now. Okay, well, I want this rectangle to be centered here. Okay, I'll press escape to get out of the tool. Now I'll use the Constrain tool, and if I put my mouse here, that green dot is the middle of this line. So let's make that coincident with this part here. Okay, so now this line will always be in the middle. You can see when I move this line also moves as well. Okay, it always stays symmetric around this line. Okay. Now let's go add in the curved part here. The best way to do that is just go ahead and start a circle. Make sure your circle snaps to the midpoint of this line, and then make sure it snaps to this edge here. Notice how the center turns color. It's yellow now. Now it snaps green. See that? Make sure that snaps green. Okay, now the purpose of that is that if I change this dimension, well, the circle also changes as well, so they're linked together. Okay, and now I can just add a dimension. This length here, this diameter, is a 44 millimeter diameter, and the distance from here to here is 96. Okay. Now I could also draw the slot right now, but it's good practice to try to make the each feature as simple as possible. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish that, and now let's extrude up. Alright, now I need to tell it what to extrude. Well, I want to extrude this circle and also extrude this rectangle as well. Okay, so both of those things. Okay, now I'm going in the right direction, but I need to tell it how far to extrude it, and the distance is 16. Okay, so I've got the base there. Alright, the next thing I want to do is, let's say, go create the slot on top of here and then cut it as a whole. So I can create a sketch on this top surface here, and there is a slot feature. If you click on this drop down arrow, here's a slot feature. Now there's several different slots. It's basically just kind of which way you want to create it. It doesn't really matter which one you click on. I normally select the center one, and I'll show you how I'll do this here. So here's a slot. Now right now this slot is not constrained at all. I can move it around like this. Okay, the size is not constrained either. This distance is not constrained. I can make it shorter. Alright, but I want to constrain it. One way to do that is to click on concentric, and let's make this circle concentric with this one here. Okay, now this point cannot be moved. Alright, these two circles are concentric, which is what I want. And now I can just go through and add in the dimensions that I need. This dimension, if you look, is 24 millimeters. And then the radius here would be a radius of 8. Okay. Now notice it's turned color. Okay, it's a blue color. So we fully constrain this slot now. Alright? Alright, so now let's finish that sketch. And let's extrude this. Now remember, I want to keep my design intent in mind when I'm drawing this. So the intention of this design is that this cut here should always go through the entire part, no matter how thick it is. Okay? So instead of making it a distance, let's make it through all. Okay? Through all. Alright. So we're making progress. Now let's go add in these parts here. Okay, that's looking at these holes here. Alright, now there's two kind of main ways to do this. My method, there's two good methods. One method is to first just draw one of these and then mirror it to the other side. Okay, so I'll demonstrate that. Let me save my work though before I move on. Alright, so let's start a sketch on this side here. Okay, I want to go get a rectangle, and I want this rectangle to start right there. Okay, make sure it turns green. If it's yellow, it's not snapped. I want it to snap to that corner. And there's a rectangle. Okay, and then we'll need a circle. Now let's make sure it snaps to the midpoint. There it is. And then snaps to this edge. There it is. Okay, now I can go in and add dimensions here. Okay, so we've got the dimension that goes from the bottom to the center of that circle. It's a dimension of 40 millimeters. And then this circle here, it's a radius of 24, so we could just do 2 times 24. This would be 48. Okay. Alright. Now I could go ahead and add this 20 millimeter hole here, but again, let's just keep each feature simple. So I'll first create a solid like this. So let's extrude this rectangle and this circle, both of them. Now that extrusion is going the wrong direction. That's no problem. I can flip the direction here, and then I can add in the thickness of it. The thickness is 12. Okay. Alright, now let's go cut a hole. Okay, so let's create a sketch on this face. Start a circle. Now notice, if I'm just putting my mouse here, it's not snapping to the middle, and I want it constrained to the middle. One way to do that is if you put your mouse on this line here and then start to move over, you see it'll come up green. Alright, so it kind of automatically snapped it there if you put your mouse over this line. Alright, now another way to do it is just, hey, go ahead and draw a circle and then use these constraints. Let's use the concentric constraint and make this concentric with that. It's another way to do it. Okay, now let's add in this dimension of 20. Okay, and you can see it's blue now, it's fully constrained. Now let's extrude that, not as a solid, but let's extrude it as a cut and go through all again. Okay, now there's one of those. Now I just need another one. Instead of drawing it again, these two parts are similar, so let's just mirror it. Here's the mirror. Let's mirror that. I want to mirror this feature and the hole, both of those things. Notice this extrusion 3 and 4 is what I want to mirror. Those are the features. Now I need to select a plane. So let's click this button here that says now I'm supposed to select a plane. Alright, well, I don't see a plane here, but the plane is over here under the origin. If I click this drop down arrow and I can see, is it okay, not this plane, not that one. Okay, that's what I want to mirror about right there, and you can see the preview. Click OK, and there it is. Okay, so we've got it. You can make sure to save that work. Okay, you should also go through and update the eye properties. Okay, make sure you put your title here. All right, exercise 3, part C. Make sure to put your name here. Manager, any description, company. Make sure you add in what type of material it is here. Okay. All right. Now let me show you. Another way to actually do this. Okay, so instead of actually drawing one of them, let me delete these. Oops. Alright, so let's say we're started here, we got to this point, and I want to draw these parts here. Another way to do it is do similar to what I did before. Okay, let's make it snap. I guess we can go ahead and add in dimensions here. Okay, now watch this. This time I'm going to extrude it all the way across. Okay, so one way to do this, I could try to type in the dimension and get it exactly that width, or another thing I can do is extrude to and say let's go to this face here, and it will extrude up until that face. Click OK. Alright, now I can go create a hole. Okay, let's create a hole and whoops, sorry. Concentric, let's make that concentric with this. Can add in the dimension of 20. Extrude that hole through everything. Okay. Now you say, well, from here the only thing I need to do now is basically cut a slot here. Alright, so that's kind of easy to do. There's several ways to do it. I could create a sketch here and make a center rectangle. It starts here. Okay, now I can add in this thickness, and basically I'm going to use this as a cut. Okay, so this is a distance of 20, and I can make sure that this is just long enough. This distance doesn't necessarily matter here as far as how wide it is. It does need, this is not good because it's basically too short. It won't cut this part here. I'll just show you what I'm talking about. Let's finish that. Let's extrude this, not as a solid like that. Let's extrude it as a cut. Let's go the other way and go through all. So you see there, I basically cut out that section there. Alright, that's another way to do it. Both are acceptable. Okay, and you can check and make sure that you've done it right by clicking on the eye properties, going to physical, and you can check the volume here. This is what the volume should be if you've done it correctly. Okay, so that's one good check there. Alright, thanks for watching. Hope that was helpful.